Hi, this is Varun, and this is Recitation 0H Basics of Git. Welcome to this tutorial on Git and GitHub. Git is a version control system that allows you to track changes to your code and collaborate with others on software projects. GitHub is a web-based platform built on Git that provides a user-friendly interface for managing and sharing code repositories. Git is helpful for individuals working on their projects and teams working on larger projects together. It allows you to save snapshots of your code at different points in time, also called version control. So you can go back to previous versions if needed. It also makes it easy to work on the same code base with others, allowing you to merge your changes with your collaborators. GitHub is a popular platform for hosting Git repositories. There are certainly other platforms like GitLab and Bitbucket, but for this tutorial, we will stick to GitHub as a flavor of choice. It provides a range of features for managing and collaborating on code projects. It offers tools for issue tracking, project management, and more. It is also a home to a large community of developers who share and collaborate on open source projects. This tutorial will cover the basics of using Git and GitHub, including how to create and clone your repositories, authenticate into your private repositories, make changes to your code, and share your work with others. By the end of this tutorial, you should understand how to use Git and GitHub to manage your code projects. Let's get started. The Collab notebook contains various steps for installation on numerous platforms including Windows, Ubuntu, and Mac. If you cannot verify the Git version, then you must go through the installation. Generally, most of the machines do have a version of Git. Now that we have verified that our machine contains Git, let's make our first Git repository on GitHub. We'll head over to github.com, and if you don't have an account, you should create one. Once you have an account, you'll land onto this page, and then you can click on the new button to create a new repository. Give a suitable name for your repository, mostly the work that you're doing in that repository. Make sure to checkmark private repositories because we don't want our work to be seen by people who are not authorized. Click on the Create Repository button, which will finally bring you over to the repository page. Here you can see all the various things that you can do with the repository. Now let's go ahead and create our first file. Let's give a suitable name and then write a few lines in the file. You can click on the preview button to check what the file contains finally. Make sure to give a constructive commit name because this helps in version control later on. Pressing the commit button will save this file to our Git repository. Now you can go back to the Git repository and check that the file is there. Head over to the code button and copy the HTTPS link. Bring this link over to your collab session and git clone the link. You'll observe that we are not authorized to clone this repository. This is because we have created a private repository and Collab doesn't have authorization to our private repository. For the same purpose, we'll have to create an SSH key pair to form a SSH connection between our GitHub repository and our Collab environment. We'll use the SSH keygen command to form a SSH key pair. This not only creates a public key but as well as a private key. The public key is to be saved on the remote server and the private key is to be saved responsibly with you. Copy the public key and now we'll have to paste it in our GitHub session. You have to go to the profile section and then press on the settings button. You'll find the SSH and GPG keys section. Go ahead and then press the new SSH key button. Here you'll find a title. You should name it appropriately and then you should paste the key that we just copied from our Collab environment. Press on the add SSH key button to confirm. This will ask you to provide authentication, and once you have authenticated from your mobile device, you'll have the new SSH key in your account. Now finally head over to the Collab and let's copy the private key. We'll need to make sure that the Collab environment has the private key enabled. For this, we'll copy the key in this function and this function will do the rest for you. You can also verify that your private key has been added by running the cat command in the below section. Now that the SSH key is added to Collab as well as GitHub, head over to the repository and now we can copy the SSH link. You will find this link in the code section under the SSH menu. Copy this link and now git clone using this link. You'll observe that the git clone was successful. If we go to the folder section of Collab, we can see that the repository is now there And we can also observe the file contents by clicking on the hello.txt. We can also verify this by using the cat hello.txt command. Let's change the directory to a new GitHub repository and then run the cat command to verify if the contents that we wrote are still there. Let's add some new changes to our old text file and make a new text file. Now we use the git add command to add the changes in the working directory to the staging area. This allows you to selectively include changes that you want to commit rather than committing all changes in the working directory. The staging area is a temporary holding area for changes that are ready to be committed but are not yet committed. To commit your work to a repository on GitHub, you will need to first configure your Git client with your personal information. This can be done using the following commands. Once you have configured your Git client, you can use the git commit command to commit your changes to the repository. The git commit command requires a message that describes the changes being committed. Make sure that this commit message is constructive as discussed earlier. Finally, this will commit your changes to the repository and add your personal information as the committer. The git push command is used to upload local repository content to a remote repository. This is used to share your local changes with other collaborators and to make your changes available in a remote repository. After using the git push command to upload your local repository changes to the remote repository on GitHub, you can go to the GitHub website and view the updated repository. You will see that all of your changes from the local repository are now present in the remote repository. You can also view the commit history on GitHub to see a list of all the commits made to the repository along with the details about the changes made in each commit. You can click on a commit to view the specific lines of code that were added, modified, or removed in that commit. This can be a very useful tool for reviewing and understanding the history of changes made to the repository, especially when you are trying to look for an error that broke your code. Finally, we have come to the end of this tutorial. In this tutorial, you learned how to use Git to manage and collaborate on projects. You learned how to create a repository, make changes to the repository, and push those changes to remote repository on GitHub. By following best practices, such as using clear and concise commit messages, you can ensure that your Git workflow is efficient and effective. It is recommended to review some of the best practices for using Git as outlined in the Collab notebook. These practices can help you effectively use Git to manage and collaborate on your projects. In addition, there is an extra reading material provided at the end of the Collab notebook that you may find helpful for further learning. Git is an essential tool for your deep learning journey, and it is important to have a good understanding of how to use it effectively. If you have any further questions about Git, you can ask them on Piazza or directly through the instructors. Thank you for following this tutorial, and we hope that you found it useful. Have a great day.